Mastering emotional calm, the power of emotional detachment. Have you ever imagined what it would be like to never let anyone's words or actions throw you off balance? Picture yourself navigating through every situation with unwavering composure, unaffected by the chaos and noise surrounding you. It might seem like a superpower, right? Yet the ability to stay emotionally steady isn't reserved for a select few. In fact, anyone can develop this skill with patience and consistent practice. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe it today. Let's explore how to free ourselves from anger or frustration, no matter who we're dealing with or what circumstances arise. The key lies in realizing that we have the power to decide how we feel. Instead of letting someone else's negative words take over, we can pause, take a deep breath, and choose to remain calm. This mindset comes from believing that our happiness is in our own hands, not someone else's. Once we adopt this approach, we won't be tossed around by every stressful moment. Changing how we react isn't a quick fix. It requires daily effort. But by staying mindful of our inner peace, we can weather any emotional storm. Embrace this outlook and you'll discover a life where you are guided by your own steady choices. Breaking free from reactive emotions. The path to emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is like stepping back and observing our feelings from a distance, almost as if we're watching a movie instead of being in it. When we practice this, we don't deny our emotions or try to push them away. Instead, we notice them without allowing them to control us. Many Buddhist teachings explain that strong emotions like anger often arise because we cling too tightly to certain outcomes or take things personally when someone says something hurtful. This attachment makes us believe that another person's words or actions define who we are, which can cause our reactions to flare up unexpectedly. But when we remember that emotions are temporary and ever-changing, we can pause before reacting. We can simply observe these feelings and let them pass, much like clouds drifting across the sky. Think about a time when a cruel comment upset you. Your first instinct may have been to lash out or defend yourself. This is normal, as we humans often feel threatened when someone speaks harshly to us. However, emotional detachment encourages a different response. Instead of jumping into a heated argument right away, you can take a moment to breathe and mentally step back. Ask yourself, why am I feeling upset? Is it because I believe their words, or is it fear of something else? By identifying the emotion, whether it's anger, sadness, or embarrassment, you create space for it to pass without attaching to it. Imagine that emotion as a cloud. It comes, it lingers for a while, and then it fades. Just as we don't chase clouds or hold on to them, we can learn to let our emotions come and go without clinging to them. This step of emotional detachment is essential for breaking the cycle that turns a trigger, like a hurtful comment, into an intense reaction, such as shouting or slamming a door. By observing your emotions as a curious observer, you free yourself to choose your response. While it may seem simple, this requires consistent practice. Many of us grow up believing that emotions must always be expressed immediately, but the truth is we have the choice to respond in a calm, controlled manner, or sometimes, to remain silent. Imagine you're having a rough day at school or work, and someone makes a rude remark. Instead of reacting in anger, you can pause, acknowledge that the comment was hurtful, but decide it won't ruin your day. Breathe deeply. Notice any physical signs of tension. Maybe your heart is racing or your fists are clenched, and recognize these signals as a reminder to stay aware of your inner state. Once you realize you're angry, you gain the power to decide how to respond. You could reply calmly, ask a question, or simply walk away until you're ready to engage. There's no shame in taking a moment for yourself. Emotional detachment doesn't mean ignoring issues or tolerating disrespect. It means you no longer act impulsively. Instead, you choose the most constructive response for the long term. As you make this a habit, you stop adding fuel to the fire. You allow yourself the time to approach situations with clarity, rather than letting emotions take the wheel. Over time, this process becomes easier, much like building a muscle. Practice makes you stronger. Start small. For example, if you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off, Your initial reaction might be to honk and shout. But try pausing for a moment. Notice the anger building and remind yourself, I don't have to let this ruin my day. The other person's actions aren't worth compromising your peace. This doesn't make you weak. It makes you someone who values serenity over unnecessary conflict. As you continue practicing emotional detachment, you'll find it easier to handle more challenging situations without overreacting. Some people worry that practicing emotional detachment will make them cold or unfeeling. But that's not the case at all. You'll still feel your emotions deeply. The difference is you won't let them overwhelm you. You'll remain calm and composed, no matter what life throws your way. Mastering emotional calm. Navigating through life's storms. Have you ever imagined what it would be like to never let anyone's words or actions throw you off balance? Picture yourself navigating through every situation with unwavering composure, unaffected by the chaos and noise surrounding you. It might seem like a superpower, right? Yet the ability to stay emotionally steady isn't reserved for a select few. In fact, anyone can develop this skill with patience and consistent practice. Today, let's explore how to free ourselves from anger or frustration, no matter who we're dealing with or what circumstances arise. The key lies in realizing that we have the power to decide how we feel. Instead of letting someone else's negative words take over, we can pause, take a deep breath, and choose to remain calm. This mindset comes from believing that our happiness is in our own hands, not someone else's. Once we adopt this approach, we won't be tossed around by every stressful moment. Changing how we react isn't a quick fix. It requires daily effort. But by staying mindful of our inner peace, we can weather any emotional storm. Embrace this outlook, and you'll discover a life where you are guided by your own steady choices. The freedom of emotional detachment. Stepping back with clarity. Emotional detachment is like stepping back and observing our feelings from a distance, almost as if we're watching a movie instead of being in it. When we practice this, we don't deny our emotions or try to push them away. Instead, we notice them without allowing them to control us. Many Buddhist teachings explain that strong emotions like anger often arise because we cling too tightly to certain outcomes or take things personally when someone says something hurtful. This attachment makes us believe that another person's words or actions define who we are, which can cause our reactions to flare up unexpectedly. But when we remember that emotions are temporary and ever-changing, we can pause before reacting. We can simply observe these feelings and let them pass, much like clouds drifting across the sky. Think about a time when a cruel comment upset you. Your first instinct may have been to lash out or defend yourself. This is normal, as we humans often feel threatened when someone speaks harshly to us. However, emotional detachment encourages a different response. Instead of jumping into a heated argument right away, you can take a moment to breathe and mentally step back. Ask yourself, why am I feeling upset? Is it because I believe their words, or is it fear of something else? By identifying the emotion, whether it's anger, sadness, or embarrassment, you create space for it to pass without attaching to it. Imagine that emotion as a cloud. It comes, it lingers for a while, and then it fades. Just as we don't chase clouds or hold on to them, we can learn to let our emotions come and go without clinging to them. This step of emotional detachment is essential for breaking the cycle that turns a trigger, like a hurtful comment, into an intense reaction, such as shouting or slamming a door. By observing your emotions as a curious observer, you free yourself to choose your response. While it may seem simple, this requires consistent practice. Many of us grow up believing that emotions must always be expressed immediately, but the truth is, we have the choice to respond in a calm, controlled manner, or sometimes to remain silent. Mindfulness. The art of staying present. Imagine you're having a rough day at school or work, and someone makes a rude remark. Instead of reacting in anger, you can pause, acknowledge that the comment was hurtful, but decide it won't ruin your day. Breathe deeply. Notice any physical signs of tension. Maybe your heart is racing or your fists are clenched, and recognize these signals as a reminder to stay aware of your inner state. Once you realize you're angry, you gain the power to decide how to respond. You could reply calmly, ask a question, or simply walk away until you're ready to engage. There's no shame in taking a moment for yourself. Emotional detachment doesn't mean ignoring issues or tolerating disrespect. It means you no longer act impulsively. Instead, you choose the most constructive response for the long term. As you make this a habit, you stop adding fuel to the fire. You allow yourself the time to approach situations with clarity rather than letting emotions take the wheel. Over time, this process becomes easier, much like building a muscle. Practice makes you stronger. Start small. For example, if you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off, your initial reaction might be to honk and shout. But try pausing for a moment. Notice the anger building and remind yourself, I don't have to let this ruin my day. The other person's actions aren't worth compromising your peace. This doesn't make you weak. It makes you someone who values serenity over unnecessary conflict. As you continue practicing emotional detachment, you'll find it easier to handle more challenging situations without overreacting. Some people worry that practicing emotional detachment will make them cold or unfeeling, but that's not the case at all. You'll still feel your emotions deeply. The difference is, you won't let them overwhelm you. You'll remain calm and composed no matter what life throws your way. Building emotional awareness, journaling, and self-reflection. To further strengthen emotional detachment, journaling can be an incredibly useful practice. Take some time each day or whenever you're feeling upset to write down what happened, how it made you feel, and any physical sensations you experienced. Perhaps your heart raced or your cheeks flushed. Then reflect on how you responded. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns emerge. Certain people or topics may trigger you more than others. Becoming aware of these triggers helps you prepare ahead of time, allowing you to enter difficult situations with a calm mindset. You might even plan a gentle statement to defuse tension if things start to escalate. Another invaluable tool is meditation. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day of quiet sitting and observing your thoughts can work wonders. Imagine a peaceful place, like a sunny beach, and whenever your mind begins to wander, gently bring your focus back. As you practice, you'll develop better control over your mental space. This doesn't mean you'll never feel anger again, but you'll become more adept at noticing it early and gently guiding it out of your system before it escalates into an emotional outburst. Responding with clarity, emotional detachment in difficult conversations. It's important to remember that emotional detachment doesn't mean ignoring problems or avoiding communication. If someone continuously hurts you, it's essential to set boundaries or discuss your feelings with them. Emotional detachment simply means that you aren't consumed by negative emotions. When you're not overwhelmed, you can handle situations with clarity and communicate more effectively. For example, if a friend makes an unkind remark, you can calmly explain how their words made you feel, rather than reacting impulsively. Staying composed encourages the other person to listen attentively, reducing the chances of them becoming defensive. People often say hurtful things because they're stressed, fearful, or dealing with their own struggles. While this doesn't excuse unkind behavior, it serves as a reminder that their words don't define who you are. Emotional detachment helps you see the bigger picture. You are more than one person's rude comment. You are someone capable of calm reflection and making compassionate choices. Patience and practice. The long road to emotional freedom. Finally, be patient with yourself as you learn this practice. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, and you may still slip up when facing intense stress. If that happens, don't be hard on yourself or give up. Instead, reflect on what went wrong and consider how you might respond differently next time. Every moment offers a new opportunity to practice. Over weeks, months, and even years, you'll gradually notice that you recover from anger more quickly, and not everything triggers you the way it once did. Ultimately, emotional detachment is about freedom. It frees you from the grip of anger, fear, or hurt that tries to dominate your heart. It doesn't mean you'll never experience these emotions again. Rather, you'll learn to recognize, accept, and let them pass without clinging to them. You'll stop identifying with your anger and instead become an observer of your emotions, watching them come and go like clouds drifting across a clear sky. In that space, you'll find peace. That peace will empower you to stand strong and steady, even when life gets tough. Shifting your mindset, reprogramming your thoughts for peace. Our minds hold immense power, yet sometimes we allow them to wander down paths that intensify our anger, hurt, or stress. Picture yourself in a classroom or workplace when someone says something that feels insulting. Immediately, your mind might ask, why would they say that? Do they think I'm not good enough? These thoughts often spiral, leading to stronger feelings of anger or insecurity. Recognizing this pattern and practicing mindfulness in these moments can help break the cycle, allowing you to take a step back, reframe your thoughts, and regain control over your emotional responses. Embracing the what-if mindset. We've all experienced that cycle of negative thinking when frustration or anger takes over. It can feel like there's no escape, and we're trapped in the same emotional loop, reacting in the same way every time. However, there is another way to approach these situations, a path grounded in curiosity, empathy, and a broader perspective. In Buddhism, there is a teaching that reminds us that our thoughts don't have to control us. We have the ability to guide them in healthier directions. One powerful tool for doing this is what's known as the what-if mindset. Rather than letting anger fester and grow, we shift our focus to asking thoughtful questions that help us learn and understand. For example, if someone criticizes you, it's easy to lash out or internalize the comment. But instead, you could pause and ask, what if this is an opportunity for me to grow? What if the person who spoke harshly is dealing with stress or frustration of their own? These questions don't excuse rude behavior, but they open a small door in your mind that allows you to consider new possibilities. This shift gives you the space to reflect before reacting impulsively. Let's explore why this approach can be so transformative. When anger arises, it often clings to a specific narrative. Perhaps a belief that the other person criticized you because they want to hurt you, or because they think you're not good enough. However, we can never fully know what's going on in someone else's mind. They may be having a difficult day or struggling in ways we can't see. Even if they genuinely intend to be rude, it is more beneficial for us to remain calm than to let ourselves be rattled by their words. The what-if questions act as a gentle reminder to look beyond our first interpretation of the situation. Maybe the real lesson is about strengthening our patience or learning how to communicate better under pressure. By embracing this mindset, we begin to see that there's often more beneath the surface than our initial emotional reaction. Shifting perspectives. Seeing the bigger picture. Think of the what-if mindset as a tool you can use in any situation, at home, at school, with friends, or at work. Imagine your friend cancels plans at the last minute. Your immediate reaction might be to feel hurt or angry, thinking, they don't respect my time. But then you remember your new approach, and instead of reacting impulsively, you pause and ask, what if my friend had an emergency? What if they are feeling overwhelmed and need support right now? This shift doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. You may still feel disappointed. However, by exploring other perspectives, you allow yourself to soften your emotions and prevent a blow-up. You might send a calm text to your friend, simply asking if everything is okay. This approach opens the door for understanding, instead of slamming it shut with anger. In many ways, our minds function like a computer that follows the program we install. If we fill our thoughts with beliefs like everything is against me, or people are always trying to hurt me, we end up seeing the world as a harsh, unfriendly place. But by practicing the what-if mindset, we can reprogram our thinking. Instead of jumping to the worst-case scenario, we plant seeds of curiosity and empathy. Over time, we start to see more than just conflict. We see lessons, opportunities, and chances to grow. This doesn't mean we're being naive or letting others walk all over us. Instead, it's about recognizing that our first emotional reaction isn't always the full story. The what-if mindset also helps us become more self-aware. Often, when someone's words trigger anger in us, we're not just reacting to what was said in the moment, we're also reacting to past hurts. Maybe you once felt humiliated in front of others, and now any slight criticism brings that same pain rushing back. The what-if mindset encourages us to step back and ask, what if my reaction has more to do with my past experiences than what's happening right now? By identifying these hidden layers, we gain the power to address them. You might realize that you need to work on building your self-confidence or healing from older wounds. This realization becomes an important step toward personal growth. Practical tools for practicing the what-if mindset. A helpful practice for implementing this mindset is journaling. Whenever you feel anger bubbling up, try writing down your thoughts. For example, you could use a small journal or a note-taking app on your phone to jot down, what if this is a chance to understand this person better? What if I can learn something about myself from this? Even if you still feel upset, writing down these questions slows down your emotional reaction, giving your rational mind a moment to catch up. You might notice that, after just a few moments of writing, you feel calmer. Journaling also helps track patterns in your emotional life. Over time, you may notice that certain topics or people tend to trigger you more than others. By becoming aware of these triggers, you can plan better ways to cope and respond thoughtfully. Another way to practice the what-if mindset is by combining it with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment, your breath, your surroundings, and the sensations in your body. When anger arises, you may notice physical changes like a rapid heartbeat, hot cheeks, or tense shoulders. Rather than labeling these feelings as bad, simply observe them. Acknowledge that you're experiencing anger, and then introduce your what-if questions. For instance, I feel anger right now. What if I sit with this emotion instead of pushing it away or acting on it? By practicing mindfulness in this way, you transform your anger into an object of curiosity, rather than seeing it as something to resist or suppress. This gentle curiosity can help lower the intensity of your anger and lead you to a more balanced response. Empathy and the power of understanding. Finally, the what-if mindset is a powerful tool for exercising empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When someone behaves badly, our instinct might be to judge them or feel offended. However, asking yourself, what if they are struggling in ways I can't see, prompts you to consider their humanity. Maybe the person is under a lot of stress or has received difficult news. This doesn't mean you have to accept harmful behavior, but it does help you recognize that everyone is carrying their own burdens. When you approach others with empathy, you not only free yourself from unnecessary conflict, but also build stronger, more compassionate relationships. By practicing the what-if mindset, you begin to break free from automatic emotional reactions, leading to greater self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and ultimately, a more peaceful life. The power of the what-if mindset, transforming anger into opportunity. By adding empathy to our reactions, we reduce the chances of our responses being solely fueled by anger. While we may still need to set boundaries or have a serious conversation with someone, doing so from a place of calm and wisdom leads to healthier outcomes. Over time, adopting the what-if mindset can help us navigate challenges in a way that feels more peaceful and balanced. We grow more resilient because we're not constantly spiraling into rage whenever something goes wrong. Life is full of surprises, both good and not so good, and if we default to anger or fear in the face of difficulties, we can end up feeling mentally and physically drained. However, when we practice curiosity and openness, we shift our focus. We may still experience disappointment or sadness, but these emotions won't consume us. Instead, we learn to hold them gently and seek the lessons within them. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you've just presented a project at school or work, and someone in the audience says, "This project is poorly planned. I don't like it at all." In that moment, you may feel your stomach tighten and your face grow hot. Your immediate internal response might be, "They're so rude, they're insulting my work." Before that feeling intensifies, pause and take a slow breath. Ask yourself, what if they have a valid point, even if they're not expressing it kindly? What if I can use their feedback to improve my project? What if I explain my thinking more clearly and we end up having a productive discussion? By adopting this mindset, you shift from feeling personally attacked to considering how you can benefit from the feedback. This doesn't mean you allow others to be rude or dismissive, but rather that you respond from a place of steadiness and emotional clarity. When we remain calm, others are more likely to engage in a constructive dialogue. Even if you disagree, the conversation becomes an opportunity for growth, and the interaction is more likely to end with both parties gaining new insights. Turning conflict into connection. The freedom of emotional control. The what-if mindset offers a powerful sense of freedom. Anger, when left unchecked, can feel like a chain, keeping us tethered to resentment and stress. By asking ourselves, what if? We unlock those chains and gain the ability to see that every situation, no matter how difficult, can teach us something valuable about ourselves, others, or life in general. Even if the lesson is simply learning how to stay calm under pressure, that's a skill that will serve us in many areas of life. Of course, changing ingrained thought patterns isn't easy. Habits are formed over many years, and the automatic response of jumping to negative conclusions can feel as natural as breathing. However, like any skill, the what-if mindset becomes stronger with consistent practice. Start small. The next time you notice even a flicker of anger, whether it's waiting in line at the grocery store or when someone interrupts you, try applying one what-if question. See how it changes your perception of the moment. If you slip up and forget, don't be hard on yourself. Recognizing the slip-up is already progress because it means you're aware that a different response is possible. Over time, you may be surprised at how much calmer you feel in situations that used to trigger anger. You'll find yourself pausing more often, considering different angles, and responding thoughtfully instead of reacting automatically. And you might notice that people react more positively to you because calm energy often encourages others to remain calm as well. By using the what-if mindset, you not only help yourself, but also create a ripple effect of understanding in your interactions with others. Self-sovereignty. Taking control of your emotional realm. Self-sovereignty is the idea that we each hold the key to our own emotional well-being. In simpler terms, it means we have the power to decide how we feel, regardless of what's happening around us. This concept is deeply rooted in Buddhism, where it is taught that no one can force an emotion upon us unless we allow them. Even if someone says something hurtful, we still have the ability to choose how we respond. At first, this might seem strange because we often feel like other people's words or actions are the cause of our anger, sadness, or frustration. But when we look deeper, we realize that not everyone reacts the same way to the same words. One person might shrug off a harsh comment, while another might feel deeply hurt. This difference reveals an important truth. It's not just the external situation that shapes our feelings, but how we choose to respond to it. This is the foundation of self-sovereignty, the realization that our reactions come from within rather than being dictated by external forces. In Buddhism, this idea is often linked to the concept of inner peace. Life brings many challenges, but like a calm lake, we can learn to stay peaceful on the inside, even when the outside world is tumultuous. Picture a lake. When a storm stirs the surface, waves form, but deep beneath the surface, the water remains still. In the same way, we can learn to stay steady and composed, even when the world around us feels chaotic. Self-sovereignty teaches us that no matter how loud, harsh, or upsetting someone's words may be, we have the ability to choose our response. Like a steady captain navigating a stormy sea, we can decide how to handle our emotions, keeping our inner peace intact despite external turbulence. By taking ownership of our emotional realm, we become empowered to lead our lives with clarity, calm, and confidence. The path to emotional mastery. Understanding self-sovereignty. This shift towards emotional control isn't always easy, but it offers lasting freedom from being emotionally tossed around. To truly understand self-sovereignty, it's important to recognize that our thoughts play a major role in shaping our emotions. When someone is mean to us, our minds might start thinking, "They hate me," or "I must be worthless." These thoughts often lead us to feel anger or sadness. If we catch these thoughts early and remind ourselves that they are just one interpretation of the situation, we begin to see that we have other options. For example, maybe the person is stressed, or their comment has nothing to do with our true worth. By choosing a calmer thought, we protect our emotional health. You might wonder, does this mean I can never be angry or upset? Not at all. Emotions are natural, and it's okay to feel them. The difference is that with self-sovereignty, you aren't handing over control of your feelings to another person. You can still acknowledge, I feel anger right now, but instead of letting that anger take over, you pause. In that pause, you remember that you have a choice. It's like having a remote control for your inner world. You decide what channel to watch rather than letting external events or people press your buttons for you. Staying in control. Setting boundaries. Without losing your peace. When someone tries to upset you, it can help to visualize a force field around your heart and mind, with their negative words bouncing off that protective shield if you choose not to let them in. This doesn't mean ignoring every hurtful thing or allowing people to treat you poorly. Instead, it means recognizing that their words don't define you. You stay aware of your worth and choose how to respond. Maybe you decide to speak up calmly, telling them that their words are hurtful, or perhaps you walk away to keep your peace. Either way, you remain in charge of your emotional state. Self-sovereignty also involves taking responsibility for our reactions. If we blame others for making us angry, the practice of pausing. Cultivating emotional awareness. Like any skill, mastering our emotions takes practice and patience. One helpful practice is to check in with your body when you start feeling upset. Notice if your shoulders are tense or if your heart is racing. Then, take a few deep breaths. This gives you a moment to remember, I am the ruler of my emotional world. You might even say silently to yourself, I choose my response. A short pause can be enough to stop an automatic angry outburst. Instead, you can decide whether you want to respond gently, set a boundary, or simply let the moment pass. Try imagining that your mind is like a calm ocean, and someone tosses a pebble of insult or annoyance at the surface. The pebble may make a ripple, but it doesn't have to create a massive wave. The pebble alone cannot stir the entire ocean. It only touches the top layer unless we allow it to sink deeper. By practicing self-sovereignty, we minimize the impact of life's pebbles. We accept that we will feel the splash, but we don't have to let it shake our entire sense of peace. Celebrating small victories, strengthening your emotional resilience. Another technique is to reflect on times when you remained calm in the past. Maybe you remember a situation where someone was yelling, and you somehow managed to stay steady. How did you feel afterward? Likely you felt proud or at least relieved that you didn't get carried away by anger. Revisiting that memory can encourage you by reminding you that you've done this before and can do it again. We often forget these victories, focusing only on times we lost our cool. But celebrating moments of self-control strengthens our belief that we are truly in charge of our emotional life. Self-sovereignty does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. We can still care deeply about people and situations. The difference is that we choose how to direct our emotions, rather than letting them run wild. If a friend is upset, we can offer them kindness and understanding without feeling pulled into their emotional turmoil. Our steadiness becomes a gift we can offer, helping others feel safe and supported. When we stand firm in our own calmness, we may even inspire others to do the same. The power of calm, standing firm without being a doormat. Sometimes people worry that if they don't get upset, they are letting others walk all over them. But staying calm and being a doormat are two very different things. We can calmly stand up for ourselves, clarify misunderstandings, and set limits without losing our peace. Imagine a strong tree with deep roots. Even if the wind blows hard, the tree remains upright. That doesn't mean it ignores the wind. It simply means the tree is stable. In the same way, we can address problems without losing our peace. This stability often earns more respect than reacting with anger. Everyday opportunities for self-sovereignty, mastering the small moments. In daily life, there are countless small moments where we can practice self-sovereignty. Maybe your sibling takes the last cookie without asking, or a friend at school makes a joke about you in front of others. Notice your first urge. Perhaps you want to snap or say something mean in return. Then pause, take a breath, and remember, I am in control of how I feel. You can choose another way. This doesn't mean you approve of their actions, but you decide not to hand over your peace. Over time, these small acts of self-control add up, making you stronger and more confident. If you find it hard to stay calm, try writing down situations that trigger you. Afterward, write how you reacted and consider other ways you might have responded. You could also journal about times you remained in control, what you did, how you felt, and how it benefited you. Reflecting on these experiences reinforces the idea that you are in charge of your emotions. Final thoughts: the strength of self-sovereignty. Self-sovereignty is about taking ownership of your emotional life. It's about choosing your response, staying grounded, and not letting external events or other people's words define how you feel. As you practice this concept, you will find yourself more resilient in the face of life's challenges, more at peace with your emotional responses, and better equipped to handle anything that comes your way. Embracing self-sovereignty. Mastering emotional control. In moments of anger, frustration, or emotional turbulence, it's natural to feel overwhelmed, but practicing self-sovereignty helps us gain control of our emotional realm. Just as you would rule over your kingdom, self-sovereignty means you are the ruler of your emotional world. You decide how to feel, no matter what others say or do. Self-sovereignty involves recognizing that our emotional responses are shaped by our thoughts and interpretations. When someone's words or actions trigger us, our initial reaction may be to feel hurt, angry, or upset. However, through self-sovereignty, we realize an important aspect of this practice is to pause and reflect, creating space between the emotional trigger and our reaction. By stepping back, we can ask ourselves, how do I really want to feel right now? This shift of perspective empowers us to make conscious decisions rather than react automatically. It's about understanding that we don't need to give our emotional power away to others. The practice of pausing, taking control of your emotional response. One powerful way to cultivate self-sovereignty is by practicing mindfulness through meditation. Taking just a few minutes each day to sit quietly and observe your breath can teach your mind to be still. You may notice thoughts, feelings, and emotions drifting by like clouds in the sky. Instead of attaching yourself to those thoughts, you practice letting them go. This ability to observe and let go of thoughts and feelings can be applied in real-life situations as well. When anger arises, you can acknowledge the emotion without letting it overwhelm you, observing it like a cloud passing through your mind, rather than identifying with it. The goal isn't to suppress emotions, but to give ourselves the space to decide how we want to respond. Self-sovereignty means not letting emotions control us, but instead acknowledging them, sitting with them, and deciding whether or not to act on them. Over time, we become more adept at recognizing emotional triggers and can step into our power with greater ease. Building emotional resilience. Learning from slip-ups. A crucial reminder in the journey of self-sovereignty is that it's a gradual process. We won't immediately master emotional control. There will be times when we slip up or lose our temper. Instead of being hard on ourselves, we practice self-compassion. We remind ourselves that we are learning, and the next time, we'll try again. Each emotional challenge offers an opportunity to practice self-sovereignty and grow stronger. Over time, you'll notice that your emotional responses become more deliberate. People's words may still affect you, but you'll recover faster from emotional upsets, and they will have less power over you. The practice of pausing, reflecting, and choosing your response gradually becomes second nature, creating emotional resilience. Embracing freedom, the power of choice in every situation. Another important aspect of self-sovereignty is recognizing that we cannot control others' emotions, but we have the power to control our own. Imagine yourself as a calm lighthouse standing firm in the middle of a stormy sea. Just as the lighthouse remains unmoved despite the crashing waves, we can maintain our inner peace regardless of the chaos happening around us. We may still feel emotions, but we don't have to let them dictate our behavior. When others' words or actions threaten to disrupt our peace, self-sovereignty invites us to create a shield of protection around our hearts and minds. This shield doesn't block out our emotions, but it helps us remember that we have the choice to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. We always have the power to decide how we want to feel and how we want to respond to any given situation. Living with purpose. Choosing to respond rather than react. The practice of self-sovereignty is not about avoiding difficult emotions or pretending that they don't exist. It's about choosing how to experience those emotions so they serve us rather than controlling us. For example, let's say you're playing a sport and a teammate shouts at you for missing a shot. Your initial instinct might be to shout back or storm off in frustration. But with self-sovereignty, you can pause and reflect. Do I want to let their comment ruin my day, or can I keep going and focus on doing my best? This small pause can change everything. You may still feel hurt, but by choosing a calmer response, you regain control over the situation. You might decide to take a deep breath, focus on the next play, and later have a conversation with your teammate about using kinder words. This is an example of self-sovereignty in action, taking charge of your emotional response and choosing a path that leads to greater peace. Becoming the calm in the storm. Navigating life with emotional mastery. Life will always throw challenges our way. People will criticize us, situations will test us, and emotions will rise. However, when we practice self-sovereignty, we learn to navigate these storms with a sense of inner calm. Buddhism teaches us that while life's circumstances may swirl around us like the currents of a river, we can remain like still, calm water beneath the surface. Our emotions may surface, but they don't have to define us or disrupt our sense of peace. By embracing self-sovereignty, we take back control of our emotional world. We stop being at the mercy of external circumstances and realize that our emotional responses are within our power. We can pause, reflect, and choose how we want to engage with the world. This practice not only improves our emotional well-being, but also leads to healthier relationships, better decision-making, and a more compassionate approach to both ourselves and others. Ultimately, self-sovereignty is about choosing to live with greater awareness, control, and inner peace. It's a path toward a life where we no longer feel pulled in every direction by the whims of others or the turbulence of our emotions. By standing firmly in our own emotional foundation, we become the steady force in our own lives, guiding us through challenges with grace and wisdom. Your emotions with more wisdom and intention. The practice of self-sovereignty gives you the tools to remain steady, no matter how others may try to provoke you. It doesn't mean you become immune to feeling things, but it empowers you to make choices about how you respond to those feelings. When you realize that your emotional well-being is in your hands, it can transform how you experience the world. You start to recognize that nothing, no harsh words, no difficult situations, has to define your inner peace. You still feel, but you don't let your feelings rule over you. Instead of letting frustration or anger spiral out of control, you can pause, breathe, and choose how to respond, much like a captain steering their ship through rough seas. As you continue to practice self-sovereignty, you become more resilient. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you choose your response with calm intention, you're strengthening your emotional foundation. Over time, these small acts of self-control add up, and you start to see a shift in how you handle life's challenges. You might find that your patience grows, your reactions become more measured, and your sense of peace becomes more grounded. Moreover, self-sovereignty isn't just about you. It can influence your relationships too. When you stand firm in your emotional control, you can offer empathy and calm to others, especially those who may be struggling with their own emotional reactions. Your steadiness can be a quiet anchor in the midst of someone else's storm. You don't need to take on their turmoil. Instead, you can simply be there with understanding, knowing that their emotions don't have to affect your peace. Ultimately, self-sovereignty is about reclaiming your personal power. You get to decide how you feel, how you react, and how you navigate the ups and downs of life. Like learning to drive, you take the wheel of your emotional world. You may face bumps along the road, but with practice, you'll become more skilled at steering with intention, clarity, and inner peace. This freedom from being tossed around by external circumstances creates a deep sense of empowerment. It's no longer about waiting for others to be kind or for situations to be perfect. Your happiness, your peace, your emotional well-being are yours to shape, and that is the ultimate freedom. Step 1. Recognizing the anger. Before you can redirect or transform anger, it's crucial to first recognize that you're feeling it. Emotions, including anger, are often quick to rise, and they can cloud your thinking if you don't catch them in time. But anger doesn't just appear out of nowhere. There are usually physical and mental cues that it's building up. You may notice your heart racing, your fists clenching, your breath becoming shallow, or a tightening in your chest or stomach. These physical sensations are your body's way of signaling that something is happening on an emotional level. At this point, it's important to stop and check in with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? By naming the emotion, I'm feeling angry, you can take a step back and gain some distance from it. This recognition is key because once you acknowledge anger, it gives you control over the situation. Instead of letting anger take over your reactions automatically, you now have a chance to decide what to do with it. Step 2. Accepting the feeling. Once you recognize your anger, it's tempting to suppress it or deny it because in many cultures, anger is often seen as something negative or inappropriate. However, suppressing anger only allows it to build up over time, leading to more intense emotional outbursts. Instead of pushing the feeling away, try accepting it without judgment. Accepting anger means acknowledging that it is a natural part of being human. Everyone experiences anger from time to time. It is not an enemy, but a signal that something within us needs attention. You might ask yourself, why am I angry? What is this anger trying to tell me? For example, you might realize that the anger you feel after someone cuts you off in traffic is actually a response to feeling disrespected or unsafe. Recognizing the underlying reason for your anger can help you process it more effectively rather than reacting impulsively. It also gives you the opportunity to address the core issue, which can be a more constructive approach. In Buddhism, this is similar to the practice of mindfulness, where you observe your emotions without getting swept away by them. You simply notice the anger and give yourself space to respond thoughtfully. You're not saying that it's okay for people to treat you poorly, but you're acknowledging that anger is a normal response and can be handled with awareness and intention. Step 3. Redirecting the energy. Here's where the magic of energy transmutation happens. Once you've accepted the anger, the next step is to redirect it into something positive or constructive. Anger, at its core, is a form of energy. If you look at it this way, it's not inherently bad, it's just a surge of energy that needs direction. You get to decide where that energy goes. 1. Physical activity. One of the most effective ways to release anger is through physical movement. When you're angry, your body is filled with adrenaline, and your muscles are tense. By engaging in physical activity, you can release that tension and transform the anger into a more productive form of energy. You might go for a run, take a brisk walk, practice yoga, or even do some jumping jacks. Physical exercise doesn't just release built-up energy, but it also helps clear your mind. This can give you the clarity to handle the situation calmly afterward. 2. Channeling into work or creativity. Anger can also be used as fuel for focus and productivity. Instead of letting your frustration simmer and distract you, you can redirect that energy into something you've been putting off, or something you're passionate about. Maybe there's a project at work that you've been procrastinating on, or you need to clean your space. You can turn that anger into motivation to get things done. Creativity is another powerful outlet for transforming anger. Whether it's drawing, painting, writing, or playing music, creating something from your emotions can be incredibly cathartic. For example, if you enjoy writing, you could write a poem or a journal entry about how you're feeling, allowing the energy of your anger to become an expression of your inner world. The act of creation allows you to express and release the emotion in a way that serves your personal growth. 3. Mindful breathing. Physical movement and creative expression can work wonders, but sometimes you just need to pause and take a moment to breathe. Anger can cloud our judgment and make us act impulsively. A simple and effective tool to redirect energy is mindful breathing. When you feel your anger building, take a few slow, deep breaths. With each breath, you release tension and calm your nervous system. This pause allows you to step back and assess the situation from a clearer, calmer perspective. It's a moment where you regain control of your emotions. 4th, meditation. Meditation is an excellent way to practice energy transmutation over time. When you meditate, you're training your mind to focus and observe rather than react. Meditation can help you develop a sense of detachment from your emotions, making it easier to notice when anger arises and decide how to channel it. With practice, you can use meditation to calm the emotional storm inside you and use that stillness to guide you in transforming anger into clarity and peace. Step 4. Reflecting and learning. The final step in energy transmutation is to reflect on how you handled the anger after the moment has passed. Did you successfully redirect the energy? Were you able to stay calm and channel your emotions in a positive direction, or did the anger get the best of you? Reflection allows you to learn from your experiences and grow emotionally. Think about how you felt after you successfully redirected your anger. Maybe you felt proud of how you handled the situation, or maybe you felt relief from not letting the anger control you. This reflection reinforces the idea that you are in control of your emotional responses, which strengthens your self-sovereignty. In addition to reflecting on your successes, it's important to be kind to yourself if things didn't go as planned. There will be times when you lose your temper or react in ways you regret, but that's part of the learning process. Instead of beating yourself up, treat yourself with compassion. Recognize that every challenge is an opportunity to learn and improve. Over time, the transformation. As you continue to practice energy transmutation, you'll find that your relationship with anger and all emotions transforms. You'll notice that anger no longer controls you the way it once did. You'll be able to pause in the heat of the moment, assess the situation, and choose how to respond. This process not only applies to anger but can also help you manage other strong emotions like fear, sadness, or frustration. By viewing emotions as energy that can be redirected, you gain a new level of mastery over your emotional world. Instead of reacting on autopilot, you become more mindful, intentional, and empowered in how you handle life's challenges. In the long run, this practice can lead to a sense of freedom. You no longer have to feel at the mercy of external circumstances. Instead, you become the creator of your emotional reality, guiding your emotions toward growth, creativity, and inner peace. With consistent practice, you'll transform from being someone who is easily tossed around by emotions into a person who moves through life with steadiness, grace, and confidence. Through energy transmutation, you begin to harness the power of your emotions rather than letting them control you. Anger, once a destructive force, becomes a source of power that drives you toward positive outcomes, helping you grow into a stronger, more resilient individual. You are essentially practicing the art of non-engagement, choosing to preserve your energy rather than letting it be drained by conflict. This concept can be a powerful tool in maintaining your inner peace and emotional sovereignty. Silence gives you the space to decide how you want to respond, rather than being swept away by impulse or the desire to win a situation. In this sense, silence is not a passive response, but a strategic choice that allows you to regain control over your emotional reactions. When someone tries to provoke you or hurt you with their words, silence serves as a kind of shield that protects your emotional boundaries. Instead of feeding into the negativity, you allow the storm to pass by without engaging with it. In doing so, you avoid adding fuel to the fire and instead create a space for clarity and reflection. In moments of silence, you can choose to calm your mind, reflect on the situation, and decide whether a response is truly necessary or if it's better to let things settle. This mastery of non-engagement is especially helpful in situations where a response might escalate the conflict further. For example, when someone cuts you off in traffic or criticizes you in a meeting, your first instinct might be to react defensively, but responding in anger rarely leads to a positive outcome. Silence, however, allows you to take a moment to breathe, gather your thoughts, and avoid reacting out of hurt or frustration. Silence also helps you avoid giving others the power to control your emotional state. If you engage with every negative comment or provoke every argument, you're essentially allowing other people's energy to dictate how you feel. By choosing silence, you take back that power, deciding for yourself how to respond, or whether to respond at all. Additionally, silence provides an opportunity to step back and gain perspective. When you don't immediately react, you create the space for yourself to process your emotions and assess the situation with a clearer mind. This pause can lead to a more thoughtful, compassionate response when you do decide to speak. Rather than reacting impulsively, you're able to engage from a place of calm and understanding, which ultimately strengthens your emotional resilience and wisdom. Silence as self-care. In a world that often demands constant engagement, silence becomes an act of self-care. It's a way to protect your emotional resources and create space for peace and healing. By choosing silence, you're not avoiding problems, but rather giving yourself the time and mental space to approach challenges with a clearer, more composed mindset. This practice also allows you to conserve your emotional energy for things that truly matter, like nurturing your well-being, cultivating positive relationships, and focusing on your goals. Silence can be a form of self-respect, where you recognize that you don't have to respond to every situation in a reactive way, and that your energy is valuable. The power of choosing when to speak. While silence is a powerful tool, it doesn't mean you should never speak up. In fact, knowing when to break the silence and speak with intention is equally important. Silence becomes most powerful when it is deliberate, not out of fear or avoidance, but out of wisdom. When you do decide to speak, it should come from a place of clarity and calm, ensuring that your words are purposeful and aligned with your values. Sometimes silence might be your best response, especially in emotionally charged situations. But other times, breaking that silence with a clear, assertive statement can be just as powerful. The key is to know when silence serves you, and when speaking up from a place of inner peace is the most empowering choice. Cultivating peace through silence. The more you practice silence, the more you'll notice a sense of peace and balance in your life. As you grow in emotional sovereignty, you'll find that the desire to react to every slight or provocation fades. You'll begin to recognize that not every situation requires your emotional energy, and you'll have the strength to choose peace instead of conflict. Ultimately, the practice of silence enhances your ability to control your emotional responses, protects your inner peace, and deepens your self-awareness. It creates a foundation for wise action rather than impulsive reaction, allowing you to navigate life's challenges with grace and intentionality. By embracing silence as a powerful tool for emotional sovereignty, you empower yourself to maintain your sense of peace and balance, no matter what's happening around you. Through silence, you not only preserve your emotional energy, but also strengthen your ability to respond with clarity and wisdom, making each moment an opportunity for growth and transformation. As you continue to master the art of non-engagement, you'll find that you're more capable of handling life's ups and downs with resilience, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to simply let go. The external events in our lives, we can always control how we respond to them. Grace under pressure is about mastering the ability to remain rooted and calm when faced with challenges, and this practice can profoundly shift how we engage with life. Instead of reacting with impulsive emotions or being swept away by external circumstances, we learn to pause, breathe, and respond with composure and clarity. This skill of grace under pressure is like learning to be an unshakable tree in a storm. While the winds may whip and the rains may pour, the tree stands tall, its roots deep in the earth, unaffected by the turmoil around it. In the same way, when we cultivate inner peace and composure, the external turbulence has less power to throw us off balance. The practice of equanimity. In Buddhist teachings, equanimity refers to an even-mindedness and balance that remains undisturbed by pleasure or pain, success or failure, praise or criticism. It's the ability to maintain emotional stability regardless of what's happening externally. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or denying our feelings. Rather, it's about developing the awareness that our emotional reactions do not have to dictate our actions. When faced with a difficult situation, the first step is to acknowledge the emotions that arise. You may feel frustration, fear, sadness, or anger, but rather than acting on these emotions immediately, you take a step back and allow yourself the space to process. This space is where grace is found. It's the pause between the stimulus, the challenging event, and your response. In this pause, you can ask yourself questions like, what is this situation really about? What do I truly need in this moment? How do I want to show up? By reflecting in this way, you give yourself the chance to choose a thoughtful and balanced response, rather than reacting impulsively. Responding with clarity and compassion. Grace under pressure isn't about ignoring the emotions that come up, but rather using those emotions as signals to guide you toward a response that is aligned with your values. For example, if you're feeling hurt by something someone said, rather than immediately reacting in a way that could escalate the situation, you might take a moment to ask yourself, what is this person really trying to communicate? Is there a way I can respond that reflects both my needs and my compassion for them? This approach prevents knee-jerk reactions and helps create space for understanding and resolution. In tense moments, responding with grace also involves the awareness that not every challenge requires a confrontation. Sometimes, the most graceful response is silence, as we discussed earlier, but sometimes it involves speaking with kindness, patience, and clarity, even when you feel under pressure. It's about choosing to rise above the situation, maintaining your composure, and leading by example. Building emotional resilience. Cultivating grace under pressure is a practice that strengthens over time. Just like building physical muscles through regular exercise, emotional resilience grows the more we face challenges and choose to respond thoughtfully. With each experience where you maintain composure, instead of giving in to emotional reactions, you're strengthening your ability to handle future difficulties with even more ease. The key to building emotional resilience is practicing mindfulness, being aware of how your body feels and what emotions are arising in moments of pressure. By becoming more attuned to your emotions, you can catch yourself before you react automatically and instead choose a response that reflects your true intentions. Over time, this practice leads to greater emotional stability, and the challenges that once felt overwhelming become easier to navigate. The benefits of grace under pressure. 1. Clarity. When you're calm and centered, you can see the situation more clearly and make more informed decisions. This helps you avoid reactive decisions that may cause more harm than good. 2. Deeper relationships. Responding with grace allows you to communicate in a self-mastery. Developing grace under pressure strengthens your ability to stay in control of your reactions. You no longer allow external situations to dictate how you feel or behave. This self-mastery leads to a sense of empowerment and inner peace. 7. Reduced stress. By responding mindfully and calmly, you reduce the physical and mental strain that often accompanies stress. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you maintain a sense of control and equilibrium, which lowers your overall stress levels. 9. Positive influence. When you handle pressure with grace, you inspire others to do the same. Your composed presence can help de-escalate tense situations and create a more peaceful environment. People often respond to your calm energy, which can foster a more supportive and respectful atmosphere. 10. The continuous journey of grace. Mastering grace under pressure is not an all-or-nothing skill. It's a continuous journey of growth and refinement. You will have moments when you slip into reactionary modes, and that's okay. It's part of the process. What matters is that each time you practice grace, You get closer to becoming the person who can remain steady, calm, and composed, no matter what life throws your way. The more you practice mindfulness and cultivate equanimity, the more natural it becomes to face challenges with poise. As you continue to build your emotional resilience, you'll find that grace under pressure becomes less about forcing yourself to stay calm and more about allowing your natural inner peace to emerge, no matter the external chaos. By embodying grace in the face of pressure, you not only transform your own experience of life, but also have a positive impact on those around you. You become a beacon of calm, showing others that it is possible to remain centered, even when things seem overwhelming. This, in turn, creates a ripple effect that spreads peace and wisdom to everyone you encounter. Ultimately, mastering grace under pressure is about learning to navigate life's challenges with calm, wisdom, and compassion. It's the art of remaining unshakable in the face of life's inevitable storms, and it's a profound practice that can bring greater peace and balance into every area of your life. Silence as emotional mastery. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a tool for emotional regulation and a way to reclaim control over how we respond to the world around us. In the face of conflict, when emotions are high and reactions come quickly, silence allows us to create a space between stimulus and response. This space is essential for self-reflection and gives us the chance to pause and decide how we want to respond. By choosing silence, we also avoid impulsive reactions that might later lead to regret. For example, in a heated argument, if we pause and refrain from speaking in anger, we allow ourselves time to reflect on the bigger picture. Is this worth responding to right now? Will my words help or escalate the situation? Often, when emotions are high, responding in the heat of the moment only adds fuel to the fire. Silence, on the other hand, provides us with the opportunity to respond with wisdom rather than react from an emotional place. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations altogether, but rather, it's about choosing the right time, tone, and approach. There's power in non-engagement. Choosing when to stay silent can be a way of protecting our emotional energy and preventing unnecessary conflict. Grace. Under pressure. Equanimity in action. When life gets chaotic, whether it's work pressure, family tension, or personal struggles, it's easy to feel like we're losing control. However, grace under pressure teaches us how to maintain emotional equilibrium despite external turbulence. Equanimity, as it's called in Buddhism, is the ability to stay calm and balanced in situations that might otherwise throw us off course. It's not about denying our emotions, but about choosing to meet challenges with a steady, composed mindset. In the face of difficulty, grace under pressure offers us a sense of inner sovereignty, the ability to remain anchored in our values and respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. When we feel stressed, instead of reacting out of fear, anger, or frustration, we practice pausing and asking ourselves how we can respond in a way that reflects our highest self. Think about a situation where someone criticizes you unfairly at work, or a loved one says something that hurts your feelings. Your natural instinct might be to defend yourself or retaliate. However, grace under pressure teaches us to resist those impulses and to respond from a place of self-awareness and compassion. The more we practice this, the more we develop emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from difficult situations without letting them break our spirit. Energy transmutation, using anger as a catalyst for positive change. Anger is often viewed as a destructive emotion, but in Buddhism,